How to build your dream capsule glamping barrel. Please ensure you have the following items. Place down your cradles on a level base. Place your bottom starter stave across the cradles. It is the stave that is rounded on both sides. Ensure all cradles are at the same height. Ensure the bottom starter stave has a 12-inch overhang past the back cradle. Ensure it is centered and square to the cradle. Secure with 4 2.5-inch screws. Ensure the back of the next cradle is 45 inches from the back of the previous cradle. Ensure the bottom starter stave is centered and square to the cradle. Secure with 4 2.5-inch screws. Ensure the bottom starter stave has a 12-inch overhang past the front cradle. Ensure it is centered and square to the cradle. Secure with 4 2.5-inch screws. Ensure the front of the next cradle is 45 inches from the front of the previous cradle. Ensure the bottom starter stave is centered and square to the cradle. Secure with 4 2.5-inch screws. Now place down 3 staves on one side of the bottom starter stave. Ensure the notches are perfectly aligned and the staves are tight together. Secure the third stave to the cradles with 2 2.5-inch screws into each cradle. Repeat on the other side of the bottom starter stave. Now slide the front door into the front notch. Ensure it opens outwards and is level and centered. Repeat with the middle door in the middle notch. Ensure the doors open towards the front. Attach the first half-moon wall piece onto one side of the middle door. Ensure the tongue is tight into the groove, and secure with 2 3-inch screws into the pre-drilled holes. Repeat with another half-moon wall piece on the other side. Repeat the process on the front door with the 2 remaining half-moon wall pieces. Continue placing staves on one side of the barrel. Hammer 2 nails into each stave to hold them against the wall panels. Ensure the staves are aligned with the pencil mark on the wall panels. Once you get about 10 staves up, move on to the other side and repeat the process. Once you reach the halfway point, move back to the other side and continue the process. Once both sides are at halfway, slide the dome into the groove on the back of the barrel. Temporarily place the top stave on the walls and dome to hold everything in place. Continue placing the staves. However, the nails are no longer needed. When you reach the end, you may need to extend the top stave, depending on how much of a gap is left. Use the provided spacer boards to make the top stave the perfect width. Place the top stave and the regular staves to create an A shape. Assemble two bands and place them over the front and back of the barrel. Slide a band between each cradle and assemble them. The front cradles will have two between them. Slide the bands into their final location. The first will be 2 inches from the front. Second will be over the front wall. Use the nails as a guide. Third will be centered between second and fourth. Fourth will be over the middle wall. Fifth centered between fourth and sixth. Sixth, 2 inches from the end. Lightly snug up the first, second, and fourth bands and tap out the staves until the top stave flattens out. Give the second, fourth, and sixth band a quick tightening. Make sure the dome is aligned with all the grooves on the staves, and tighten the sixth band. Tighten the fourth band and tap down all the staves to even them out. Tighten the second band and tap down all the staves to even them out. Give the first, fifth, and third band a quick tightening. Tap down all the staves to even them out, and give all the bands a final tightening. Now place the skylight frame in your desired location. Ensure it is centered and trace out the inside of the box. Cut along the outline. Smooth out your cuts. Place the skylight frame over the opening. Pre-drill 1/16 inch holes into the skylight and secure it to the barrel with 16 1.5 inch screws. Now remove the film from the top of the first sheet of ice and water shield and place it on the barrel. Align the bottom of the ice and water shield with the top of the perfectly vertical stave. Remove the film from the bottom of the ice and water shield and staple it to the ends of the staves. Repeat the process on the other side of the barrel with another sheet of ice and water shield. Place another sheet of ice and water shield on the barrel. Ensure the bottom of it overlaps the glossy portion of the first sheet. Remove the film from the bottom of it. Cut out an opening for the skylight and fit the ice and water shield around it. Repeat the process with another sheet of ice and water shield. Use the cut-off pieces of ice and water shield to cover the rest of the outside of the skylight. Secure the ice and water shield to the skylight with staples. Put strips of weather stripping along the top of the skylight. Slide the skylight window assembly over the skylight frame and secure with 8 self-sealing roofing screws. Now continue stapling the ice and water shield to the ends of the staves. Cut off the excess ice and water shield. Now place the first trim piece on the front of the barrel. Ensure it is a 1/4 inch above the staves and is centered. Secure with 3 2-inch screws. Align the next 3 pieces of trim with the end of the previous piece. Ensure they are a 1/4 inch above the staves. Secure each with 2 2-inch screws. Repeat with 4 trim pieces on the other side of the first trim piece. For the final trim piece, mark where it overlaps and cut on the mark. Align the ends with the previous trim pieces and secure with 2 2-inch screws. Repeat the trim process on the back of the barrel. Now begin covering the ice and water shield with the bevel siding. Use the provided spacer blocks to get proper alignment, and secure each strip with a line of 1 1/4 inch staples across the top. Be sure to avoid hitting the bands with the staples. When you reach the skylight, repeat the process on the other side. Now take a strip and mark the area you need to cut out to fit around the skylight. Cut out the notch, place the strip, and secure with 1 1/4 inch staples across the top. Measure the length between the skylight and ends, and cut off 2 strips to fit. Place the strips and secure each with 1 1/4 inch staples across the top. Repeat the process on the other side of the skylight. Place a final strip down the center of the barrel and secure on both sides with 1 1/4 inch staples. Now remove the protective film from the skylight. Measure and mark each third of the barrel and put an extra line of staples down the line on the bottom of the bevel siding to hold the bevel siding strips tight against each other. Put another line of staples down 5 inches from each end on the bottom of the bevel siding to hold the strips tight against each other. Continue each line until you reach the bottom bevel siding strip. Now remove the protective film from the dome. Now place the slide-out table assembly in the back half of the barrel. Ensure it is tight against the middle wall and level. Secure with 6 2.5-inch screws into the pre-drilled holes. Place a support piece across the back of the table assembly. Ensure it is mounted at the same height as the front piece. Secure with 6 2.5-inch screws into the pre-drilled holes and 6 2.5-inch screws into the back of the table assembly. Place the dome platform. Use a couple of thin staves to get the correct distance from the front. Ensure it is level and at the same height as the table assembly. Secure with 6 2.5-inch screws into the pre-drilled holes. Place a support piece in front of the dome platform. Secure with 6 2.5-inch screws into the pre-drilled holes and 10 2.5-inch screws into the dome platform. Place a support piece between the two other support pieces. Ensure it is at the same height as the others and secure with 6 2.5-inch screws into the pre-drilled holes. Place a short side support piece on the mark and secure with 6 2.5-inch screws into the pre-drilled holes. Repeat on the other side. Begin placing the thin platform boards on the frame. Secure each with 10 2-inch screws into the studs. When you reach the trim around the door frame, you will have to cut notches into the platform boards to make them fit. Continue placing and securing the platform boards. Use the half-width platform board as the finisher. Now bring the floor into the barrel. Align the center stud with the center of the bottom starter stave. Secure with 6 2-inch screws between the slats. Now measure the width of the shelf and place the shelf support assembly that far from the front wall. In this case, it is 22 inches. Ensure it is level and secure with a 2.5-inch screw. Use the level to mark the height of the other side of the bottom shelf support, and secure to the front wall with 3 2-inch screws. Repeat the process for the top shelf. Place the enclosure in front of the bottom shelf supports, and secure with 4 2-inch screws into the pre-drilled holes. Place a 2-inch screw through the 2 shelf supports into the wall of the barrel to better secure the shelf support assembly. Place the loose shelf pieces on the top shelf supports and secure each with 4 2-inch screws. Now place the short bench enclosure. Ensure it is 3 inches away from the floor. Secure with 4 2-inch screws into the pre-drilled holes. Place the bench supports. Ensure they are aligned with the top of the bench enclosure and square. Secure each with 3 2-inch screws. Place the short bench. Secure it to the bench supports with 2 1.5-inch screws, and to the side of the barrel with 4 3-inch screws. Now place the long bench enclosure. Ensure it is 3 inches away from the floor. Secure with 4 2-inch screws into the pre-drilled holes. Place the bench supports. Ensure they are aligned with the top of the bench enclosure and square. Secure each with 3 2-inch screws. Place the long bench. Secure it to the bench supports with 2 1.5-inch screws and to the side of the barrel with 5 3-inch screws. Now place the handles on the middle doors and secure each with 2 2-inch screws. Now secure the door frame to the barrel with 2 2.5-inch screws through the open hole on the hinges, as well as 2 2.5-inch screws on the opposite side. Now place the porch floor. Ensure it is centered and secure with 4 2-inch screws between the slats. Now drill a hole in the door frame for the door latch to hook into. Screw the strike plate onto the door frame over the hole. Screw the latch into the door and connect the doorknob. Now place the optional hooks in the desired location and secure with 4 1.5-inch screws. Your assembly is now complete.